Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today. I started building social media to give people a voice, and I still believe this today.
In this clip, Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg announced a major policy reversal. He says will take Facebook back to its roots, promoting free expression.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
Here in Australia, critics, including human rights lawyers and academics, have labelled this sudden change of tact as hypocritical, politically motivated and potentially dangerous.
Zuckerberg is responding to the political changes that will take place in the home of that company, the United States.
We need to actually think of this as a problem that is going to affect the world.
It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
What are we celebrating?
We just got 3 million users.
3 million users.
Yeah.
And how long has Facebook been around?
Not that long. A little more than a year.
In the early 2000s, Facebook evolved from a simple website designed to rate the attractiveness of students at Harvard University.
Whether we have something that will last for a really long time or is just like kind of a cool toy for people to play with now, we'll see.
It went interstate, then international, and now 20 years after launching has billions of registered users. And most of its money is made through targeted advertising.
I think social media hold great promise for allowing communities and connections to develop across traditional social divides, and I remain concerned that that is not going to be the outcome of these changes.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US.
Community Notes basically puts the responsibility for fact-checking back on users, giving them options to add notes to posts that are inaccurate or misleading. At this stage, it's unclear for how long Australia's third-party fact-checking teams will remain.
So we're going from a system where we had transparency over actual fact-checkers who have journalistic training. Now, you don't have any of that guarantee if you're moving to a community notes system.
Emma Bryant studies propaganda and information warfare and helped expose the Cambridge Analytica data scandal.
I mean, it will transform our online experience. It is actually introducing the ability for private companies, for governments potentially, for political parties to mount their own efforts to all compete for the production of community notes.
We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
I think what these content moderation changes signal is that you'll find a home on Facebook, on Meta's other platforms, if you are a peddler of this kind of hateful content.
The legacy media wrote non-stop.
Lizzie O'Shea is a human rights lawyer who heads up Australia's Digital Rights Watch. She says that poor moderation online already has dangerous real-world implications.
The military in Myanmar who effectively exploited content moderation rules to disseminate hateful content, which ultimately contributed to a genocide. But there are also other actors, influencers, people like Andrew Tate, who have made a career for themselves out of spreading disgusting misogynistic content.
The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
Days after revealing his plans to make Meta great again, Zuckerberg gave more detail on the Joe Rogan podcast.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
It was the Trump election and the aftermath, where I feel like in retrospect I deferred too much to the kind of critique of the media on what we should do. And since then, I think generally trust in media has fallen off a cliff, right? So I don't think I'm alone in that journey.
It's a public about-face considering 4 years ago, Facebook blocked Trump following the January 6 attack on the Capitol.
It's one of the things that I'm optimistic about with President Trump is I think he just wants America to win.
Zuckerberg is one of several billionaires who donated to the president-elect's inauguration fund.
This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the
He also appointed longtime Trump supporter, UFC boss Dana White, to Meta's board.
This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this.
These billionaires have realised really it's their time, not ours. It's a time for realising their political ambitions as well.
I think this announcement is an attempt by Zuckerberg to clear the air, to make it plain to the incoming President Trump that it wants to be a friend of the administration, that anything that happened in the past should be put in the past.
Even the US government has pushed for censorship.
Mark, why don't you spend billions on protecting our kids? What are you going to do to protect Mark, why don't you spend billions on protecting our kids?
Lizzie O'Shea believes Zuckerberg will be seeking to avoid this kind of scrutiny.
You've made billions of dollars on the people sitting behind them, you here. You've done nothing to help them. You've done nothing to compensate them. You've done nothing to put it right. You could do so here today, and you should.
By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further.
Australia is one country that continues to agitate Meta, in recent years over its media bargaining code, and now its social media ban for under 16s.
We're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more.
This kind of free speech absolutist claim, or this idea that they're somehow a warrior against censorship, I think is a bit rich. And among other things, they have to comply with relevant laws. There are laws around safety, around extremist content, and they will face the consequences if they don't comply with those laws.
American internet flows everywhere and it changes culture everywhere. So the idea that, Australia and other countries will not be impacted, even if it's only taking place in America right now, is, a little naive.
I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.